Hello and welcome into Mean Green Game Day as North Texas looks to start off 2-0 in conference play as they take on the Southern Miss Golden Eagles in about an hour live from Mississippi. That'll be on Conference USA TV. I'm your host, Nick Laupius. I'm joined now at the desk by Josh Conrad, Kennedy Miller, and Jackson Donovan. Welcome into Mean Green Game Day. And guys, let's just dive right into it. North Texas starting off 1-0 Conference USA play with a 46-43 win, last second field goal victory last week for North Texas. What did you guys see from the Mean Green?
I mean, it was kind of a weird game. It was like this team came out, they played so well. Coming into the game, we had no idea what UAB was going to look like. They hadn't really played any real competition. They hadn't been a program for 2 years. So you come into the game, things are going well. You know, the offense looks good. Mason Fine, Jeffrey Wilson. Defense is making some plays, but then it just looks like this team kind of got lulled to sleep, like UAB put them in a lullaby or something. And this North Texas team just could not defend the pass. They were just throwing it deep every play, and it was just to give up 321 passing. This is a secondary that's supposed to be the strength of this team. It's not the strength of this team. It's the weakness right now. So it's a little disheartening. It's nice to get the win. It's conference play. All that matters is wins. But to give up 321 in the air is a little concerning.
Yes, this North Texas team gave up 395 yards last week against this UAB team, and I think we all kind of expected UNT to win the game. We just didn't know how much we were going to win by. And so, like you said, I think they just got a little lackadaisical out there, and after they had, put up the big lead, they just kind of let their guard down. Like you said, gave up the big plays, and then, Mason Fine with 261 passing yards, he was great out there. He managed the game well, did whatever it took, and big credit to the Mean Green as a team for just staying composed and finishing the game off even with the momentum against them.
I mean, it's the fact we're looking at Mason Fine with the 261 yards and 3 touchdowns as a down game for him throughout this season, which is, to me is just impressive and a testament to his skill level. However, I understand that we're talking about the defense is kind of lacked, especially in the second half. I'm giving a lot of props to the men up front. That defensive line giving up only 74 rushing yards for the entire game, even after the abysmal second half that happened. I understand that UAB had to throw up a lot of long bombs just to get back into the game, but only giving up 74 rushing yards through an entire 60-minute college football game, especially with UAB controlling the ball for 28-plus minutes, that was impressive.
Yeah, and again, talking about it, the rush defense was spectacular for North Texas. Just in the second half, they had a lot of trouble with the deep ball, and that's obviously a point of concern with this secondary.
And it is, because going into the season, there was all the talk about, oh, we're the best secondary in Conference USA, and I mean, I would have supported them coming into it. But the guys aren't playing like it. And I remember last year at this time joking about, man, we could put a couple pillows out there, and it would probably trip somebody more than these guys would. That's what it looks like right now. And another problem is so much attention with passing yards is on the secondary. Passing yards is a linebacker stat, too. And it goes back to the Iowa game. You saw Josh Wheeler on Akeem Wadley in that game. And little running back Wheel goes out and just runs right by our linebackers. We have to be faster in the linebacker position. We have to be more athletic. It's something you can't really coach, so we can't fix it right away because you are who you are as an athlete. You're not going to get faster as the season goes along. But if I'm Southern Miss and I'm looking at tape of North Texas, I'm saying, look, we're going to send our running back deep every play. You have to do something, maybe put the safety on him, maybe play with one less linebacker out there. But right now, the linebackers and pass defense has been such a weakness for this North Texas team.
Speaking of running backs, can we just take a step back and recognize the brilliance that is Jeffrey Wilson and how well he's been playing in his last year in a North Texas uniform? The guy just had a career high in rushing yards with 211. He's averaging 6.1 yards per carry, which is 9th in college football. This guy has been playing his butt off, and he is one of the reasons why UNT is in every game in Conference USA with a chance to win it.
I understand that we've all looked at each other's notes before this game happened, and so we're gonna be on kind of the same page later. So I'm gonna go a little bit sharper moving forward. I'm gonna say that Jeffrey Wilson will be on an NFL team next year. I think he is going to be able to put up enough stats this year going up against, I understand it's Conference USA, but the defenses are no slouch in this conference. He's going to be able to put up enough yards this season. He's going to have, I'm going to say he's going to go over 4 games, possibly over 5 games of 200-plus yards. This kid is legit. He will be the standout of this conference this season. I see him doing big things moving forward.
Do you know who's going to be on an NFL roster and who's legit? Trevor Moore. Okay, look, I wasn't here to see Mean Joe play, so I don't know if he was good or not. But we're the Mean Green. You know what we should be?
Be quiet.
We should be the North Texas Trevor Moores. Man, who doesn't want to go to that school? Robert Morris University? How about Trevor Moore? How about University of Trevor Moore? This guy is amazing. He's awesome. The kick, his eyes. Look at that dance move. That's amazing. I wish I could do that. This guy's a stud. He doesn't sweat. He just doesn't do anything bad. He's a hero. He's a saint. We should name our team after him. There should be a statue of him kicking. There should be one of me and him high-fiving each other right outside of the stadium, Apogee Stadium at Trevor Moore Field. Okay, this guy is amazing. I love Trevor Moore.
So for those of you who might not know why Josh Conrad is really talking up Trevor Moore, last week, right before the game started, he predicted that North Texas would win, and it would be off of a Trevor Moore last-second field goal. That's exactly what it was. But real quick, before we go to break, North Texas getting punched kind of in the gut there when UAB tied it up with 24 seconds left. Had a great final drive, a great kick return to get infield position. What did that last drive show you about the mentality of the North Texas team?
I mean, it shows us that we're a tough, mature football team whose head is in the right place when it needs to be. You still see that lag giving up the lead, but it shows us this team is able to compose themselves when they need to.
The best teams always find a way to win the game, and credit to this North Texas team. Even when the momentum had swung, they stayed disciplined. Only 4 penalties the entire game. So big props to them for not giving away yards and coming back, well, keeping the lead and winning the game.
I understand that you're high on Trevor Moore. He had a great game, 16 points coming from special teams. I mean, you're getting excited like Kennedy when we talk about the NBA playoffs with this one. But however, the MVP for this game, I'm going to give it to Coach Trell and Mason Fine for the last minute, being able to get that offense in the right mindset to be able to march down the field. The kick return did great, being able to put the team in position. It got the wheels moving of giving them the idea that we can do this. But being able to have a sophomore quarterback coming off an injury in the past 2 games, being able to get in that huddle and be able to command the team and say, hey, look, this is what we have to do. We have to do this. If they started off 0-1 in this conference, we would already be talking about next season. But to be able to have a sophomore quarterback be able to command the team, a Division I college football team like that, I'm thoroughly impressed.
Do you know what he said in the huddle? He said, hey, guys, we have Trevor Moore. We're good.
So North Texas, they've been improving every single week, and this past week against UAB, a good learning lesson to play full 60 minutes and not kind of fall asleep there in the second half. So we'll see how that results in this game against Southern Miss. And also our Mean Green Game Day reporters got to sit down with Jeffrey Wilson and take a closer look at the star running back for North Texas. So don't go anywhere here on Mean Green Game Day.
Listen.
All it took was someone who would insist that I just try.
Suddenly, everything was turned around because they judge you.
You tell them, I don't need this.
No one is going to understand.
Unless they've been through it, how can they?
Then one day you realize,
You feel so hopeless.
I need help. I need help.
You feel so hopeless.
Then one day you realize,
Unless they've been through it, how can they understand?
I don't need this.
No one's going to judge you.
suddenly everything was turned around because they insist that I just try.
All it took was someone who would just
Listen.
Welcome back into Mean Green Game Day. Now it's for B Block here. Going to go into the Big 12. A lot of pretty good schools so far. Oklahoma State, TCU, UT had a good win last night. Now, Jackson, I want to start with you. The first question here as we go a deeper look into the Big 12. Who currently holds the power in the Big 12 right now?
As much as it kills me to say, being a Texas kid, I'm going to say Oklahoma, purely for the fact that you have this absolute stud in Baker Mayfield who goes through and he is confident enough to walk into Baylor and look at the players and go, you forgot who daddy is. That to me is impressive, just to have the wherewithal to know that you're going to win and to go in, and also just the fact that they have a really easy schedule moving forward. They have one tough road game. They have the Bedlam game at Oklahoma State, but they have TCU at home and they have West Virginia at home. To me, I don't see them falling apart. They don't have a game that's going to challenge them other than Oklahoma State. To me, TCU is going to be a tough team they're going to be playing. I think Gary Patterson is going to have the team ready going into Norman. I still think Baker Mayfield is going to take control of the team.
But I mean, Liberty wasn't scared to go into Baylor and say, who's your daddy? So, I mean.
That's very true.
For all the reasons, I have to agree with you. I'm a UT kid. I love UT, but Oklahoma right now is like first.
It's terrifying. It's absolutely
He
terrifying.
he says, "Who's your daddy to Baylor?" I forgot who daddy was. Then he actually goes out and shows them who daddy was. Then he beats Ohio State and puts the flag in the center of the field. How much confidence, how much brass
This
do
kid's
you have?
feet doesn't sweat.
He's
not scared of anything.
His feet don't sweat. And so, Oklahoma is just clicking on all cylinders. I kind of looked at Mason Rudolph beginning the season as an underrated Heisman candidate.
Oh, absolutely.
But, after that loss to TCU, I'm rolling with Oklahoma, and I'm rolling with one of the favorites in Baker Mayfield.
Texas holds the power in the Big 12. Texas always holds the power in the Big 12.
Well, they are 1-0.
They are 1-0. Hey, 1-0 in Big 12 conference play.
That is true.
All right, but in all seriousness, if this defense plays like it has in the past 2 games, this team's going to be in every Big 12 game they play this year. The defense right now, for the first time in years, Texas looks athletic on defense. They have playmakers. They're in the right situations. The offense is terrible right now, but the Iowa State game for Texas was the exact same as the USC game. Exactly the same defensively. Iowa State only scored because of a shanked punt by Michael Dixon, who had 325 punting yards, which is more than Texas had offensively. But I think the athletes right now they have, if they can figure out a running game, Texas is a dark horse, but West Virginia is a team to watch in the Big 12 too. I think West Virginia could beat OU. I think they could beat TCU. You have Will Grier, who has 13 touchdowns. The only loss was to a Virginia Tech team, and look at Virginia Tech now, college game day, big game against Clemson tonight. You look, they have a running back, David Sills, who has 7 touchdowns already. They play TCU next weekend right now. TCU, who's riding the high horse. I think West Virginia is going to shock TCU next week, and I think watch out, Oklahoma.
You're making Jackson mad over there.
He's staring me down.
The fact that you're naming stats that Texas had less total offense than the punter had kicking yards to me, and then you're saying
but they
they're
won
going to
by
be good.
10. That's impressive. To go on the road, you win by 10. Iowa State's an offense who's putting up 40 points all year, 40 points against Iowa. You hold them to 7 on the road. On a weeknight in Iowa, there's nothing else to do in Iowa than go to a football game on a weeknight. So that's a tough place to play. 10-point win on the road. Texas is in a good spot right now.
And now, talking about who holds the power, Oklahoma, UT, TCU is a good one in there as well. Is there a playoff contender in this Big 12 team right now? Of course, Oklahoma's in there. Any other ones, perhaps?
Honestly, I don't think so. I think for the conference moving forward, I think it'd be better if Oklahoma wins the rest of their games. Plus, I don't think there's another team that can pull it out. As you said, Iowa State is a dark horse team in the Big 12. They are better than everyone thinks they are. And you have Oklahoma State on their road schedule. They go to Tech, to Texas. Texas is not great, but it's still a tough place to win. West Virginia on the road, Iowa State on the road. And then you look at TCU, who's the other contender. You have at Iowa State, at Oklahoma, and in Lubbock. I just don't think there's a team in position already this year in the Big 12 that can move up in the standings and break the top 4. You would see a team like Ohio State make it with 1 loss than you will than a Big 12 team.
I definitely agree. And the only other candidate that I would have said over Oklahoma would have been Oklahoma State. Prior to the loss last week against TCU, I thought a lot of people had Oklahoma State a little low in the rankings. They returned a lot of their starters. Mason Rudolph is a stud. But that loss to TCU, like you said, Jackson, the voting committee would rather put an Ohio State, a Penn State, a Big Ten team, or maybe an SEC team other than Alabama who has 1 loss over a Big 12 team to get into those playoffs.
And the problem for me with Oklahoma, who I think OU is the only shot the Big 12 has to get into the playoff, is the defense right now. They gave up 41 points to Baylor last week. I don't know how many yards. It was video game stats. And I know the Ohio State win is great, but Ohio State hasn't been a dynamic offense yet this year. We haven't seen that from the Buckeyes in a long time where they've been this dynamic offense. So the Oklahoma defense really concerns me, especially playing all these high-powered teams. They're the only team I think that could possibly make the playoff. But no, I don't think the Big 12 gets a team in this year.
And so I know I've been wanting it for a few years, a Big 12 championship game. Is this a year where perhaps that could harm the Big 12's chances to getting a team into the playoff?
Yes.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
The Big 12 championship game is the stupidest thing the Big 12 could have done. The only way a Big 12 championship game can help a Big 12 team is, let's say, Oklahoma State, who just lost to TCU. If they win out, TCU wins out, and they get to beat TCU and avenge their loss, then it helps you. Every other scenario, it doesn't, because you've already played the team. Why are you going to play them again? It's all about revenue for the Big 12 because it's an extra game for money. but it's a terrible on-field thing, and it's terrible for trying to get into the playoff.
Go ahead.
I agree. I think, this Oklahoma team, like you said, they very well could not lose another game. They go to a Big 12 championship and run up against an Oklahoma State or a TCU who knocks them off, and, that kind of takes both of them out of the playoffs. And so I think it's bad. I think you should just do end of the season, who's got the best record, that's the Big 12 champion. That's how they've always done it. That's how they should keep doing it.
I think the Big 12 is kind of hampering themselves. It's purely for the fact that they don't have divisions within the conference. The reason the Pac-12 is able to work and the SEC and the Big 10 is they have divisions. So you don't have a team like Oklahoma who has played Oklahoma State in the regular season and could face them in the conference championship. You'll have it every once in a while, every 3-4 years that'll happen, but you don't see it happening every year. Whereas in the Big 12, every year it seems to come down to, at least in the past 5 years, come down to 4 teams. I know Baylor's not really there this season, but in the past 4 years, it's been Oklahoma, Oklahoma State, TCU, and Baylor. And this year, we have now 3 teams. If they were in divisions, I think we may see a possibility where the Big 12 championship game, you could have someone vaulted into the championship. But for right now, basically no matter what, the teams in the championship will have played each other already. And it's going to hurt the conference more than it will help.
Yeah, so a couple of good games today. Oklahoma State taking on Texas Tech in the Big 12. But coming up on the other side of the break, we'll focus more toward Conference USA. Look to see who are early favorites to go to the championship game and how North Texas fares in Conference USA. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back on Mean Green Game Day.
I understand. I know it's not your typical resume.
Okay, well.
But candidate. But I've been working double shifts just to pay for books. I've been raising my 2 little brothers. I'm determined, driven, motivated. Isn't that what you're looking for?
Look beyond the resume and discover new ways to develop great talent at gradsoflife.org.
I rescued Toast from a shelter in 2011. I love Toast because she's a lazy diva. Toast does whatever she wants, obviously. She's sleeping right now. She's an epic snuggler. She's so comforting. She's so loving. Toast makes me laugh. When I walked into the shelter, I knew right then that she was special.
I'll never forget the day our landlord called and said, "Read your lease. No pets allowed." My owner tells him my dog ate the lease, but that didn't work. And now I'm stuck in a shelter. But this pit bull is ready for a new crib. I'm loving, loyal, and play well with others. So don't be intimidated by all my muscles, because the biggest one I have is my heart. That's right, I said it.
Back to Mean Green Game Day. We're getting closer and closer to first kick at North Texas and Southern Miss live in Mississippi. But right now, let's go ahead and talk about Conference USA. Some good teams, some good talent so far. First question, I'm just going to go right to it. Who has impressed you so far in Conference USA?
I mean, I think we're all going to say UTSA has impressed us. This team has been amazing. They went to Baylor and won. They've dominated. They beat Texas State really bad last week. And this is a UTSA team, don't forget, was supposed to play Houston to start the year. Obviously got canceled because of the hurricane. But if you're UTSA, that could have been such another great chance to show that you're really good against a Houston team that probably gets a lot of respect from the public, how good Houston's been lately. So this UTSA team's been really good. Dalton Strum, Jalen Rhodes. The defense looks great. I mean, Frank Wilson has got something special going on right now in San Antonio.
I totally agree. I'm rolling with UTSA. They're 4-0. And we talked about it the last time we were on the road show about, is Frank Wilson going to leave before next year or the year after that? And, you know, they very well could only lose maybe 1 or 2 games this year. And so I think Frank Wilson might end up getting a better job and leaving UTSA. That's how good he's turned around this program this year.
It's to the point that ESPN is talking about UTSA's chances of going to a bowl game undefeated, and we're only 4 weeks in. I understand they've only played 3 games, but those were 3 absolutely impressive games. They've had 1 game so far that's been decided by less than 14 points. And in Conference USA, to me, that is absolutely incredible. When you move through, I understand that. I think a little bit of the mentality is the fact that they kind of know they may lose their coach after this year. And so the players right now are playing for him. when you look at UTSA, it's not exactly a focal point. San Antonio is not a great place that college players want to go and to play. The Alamo Dome is a great venue, but to be able to get the players that they have in UTSA, they're not the Spurs of college football. Josh, don't look at me like that.
The Riverwalk is awesome. Who does not want to go to? Okay, time out. If you can go to San Antonio, you can go to some Spurs games, go to the Riverwalk. If you like some Tex-Mex, the Alamo is kind of disappointing. But I mean, if I was a player, I would go to Denton if I was a player. Actually,
there we go.
Exactly,
there we go.
exactly. That's the whole
Especially
point.
New Denton.
New Denton.
Exactly. That's the whole point.
Exactly. So UTSA, a great start to the season so far. But now switching gears, who's not been impressive so far in Conference USA?
Western Kentucky. I picked them at the beginning of the year to win the conference. Guys, they lost to Illinois. Illinois is supposed to beat Western Kentucky, but Illinois is a terrible football team. And they lost to Louisiana Tech, and it was 23-22. One of those teams should have scored 45 points, not them combined.
Like we saw in the conference game, in the championship game last year.
That's what you expect from Conference USA. If I want to see 23-22, I'll go watch the Big Ten. But we expect a lot of points. Mike White has been really disappointing. 2 touchdowns and 3 picks on the year. I mean, the guy was a stud last year. I mean, this is just a team that it hasn't seemed to click for them on offense yet, and they've really let me down so far this year.
Since I really liked Western Kentucky last year, this team, it's not really disappointing because I didn't really expect much, but Charlotte is 0-4, and I mean, those 4 losses, Eastern Michigan, Kansas State, which is understandable, North Carolina, A&T, and Georgia State, 3 of those teams I've never seen. I promise you, I've never watched a college football game. I've only seen them on NCAA. Yeah. Those are the only 3 schools. They're like the first schools you can get an offer from on Road to Glory. That's how bad those schools are, and Charlotte is 0-4. I think, that is disappointing. You're in the Conference USA. You have teams like UTSA that is on the rise. UNT's playing well. Western Kentucky, even though they're disappointing to Josh, are still up there. To be 0-4 and to lose 3 of those games to those type of teams, that's incredibly disappointing to me.
I'm actually going to agree. I thought I was going to have a great pick on saying Charlotte was going to be disappointing. No, I had Charlotte as a dark horse. I wasn't going to say they were going to be a contender in the conference, but I could have seen them getting to the 6-win platform and making a bowl game and at least getting a little bit of publicity for the team. However, when you lose to Georgia State, North Carolina A&T, I'm sorry, but these are marching band schools. These are the teams that they have more funding going into the band than they do the football team. And you're losing by 14 points, 21 points. I mean, it's ridiculous. You have a team, and Charlotte showed great promise coming out of training camp this year and coming out of the spring game. However, it just seems like they're tripping over themselves on the entry to the field. I mean, something's happening because this shouldn't be happening.
Now, going back, Charlotte, very disappointing. But like you said, maybe early on you had them maybe as a dark horse winning 6 games. Who do you guys have a dark horse to maybe make it into the conference game or really just kind of impress some people?
University of North Texas? Maybe.
There we go.
I agree.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, UNT. I think so far we've been crazy impressive. I was looking at the Conference USA stats today, expecting to see Western Kentucky, Louisiana Tech. Looked at quarterback, it's Mason Fine. I was like, running back, all right, let's see who the real good running back in this conference is. It's Jeffrey Wilson. You look defensively, you have Ajayi with 3 sacks right now on defense. I mean, I think this team's a dark horse. Big game tonight against Southern Miss, and then in 2 weeks, UTSA in Apogee. We have the battle flag flying outside the stadium. I mean, that's a game, and there was an article this week dissing UNT fans for not showing up to games. How are you going to diss fans for not showing up to see Lamar and UAB play? Apogee, though, will be rocking. If we can win tonight, go into that UTSA game 2-0 in conference, I mean, that's a game that could decide the Western Division of Conference USA.
Josh, I think we've been sharing the same notes here, because
You've been looking off my notes.
Is that what's happening? I'm rolling with UNT because these guys have shown they have a lot of potential. You see Mason Fine, he's a sophomore, but he plays well above his years. He plays like he's been here maybe 3 or 4 years. Jeffrey Wilson is a senior running back, and he plays like he's a senior. He's known to find the holes, and he's already had, already 2 200-yard games. This guy is amazing. And then Jalen Guyton, coming from Notre Dame, has shown to be a big threat on the outside. I think if anybody's a dark horse candidate, it is the University of North Texas.
I'm going to agree with y'all within the conference, but I'm going to take a look. I'm going to take a look beyond the conference.
He's looking at both of our notes.
I am going to take a step away from y'all because someone has to be different at this table because coming up it might be a little different. I'm going to take a look at UTSA past the conference. If they can win out for the rest of the year, look for them to have a late December bowl game.
Really?
I can see them catching the eye of every underdog fan in the country, and if they end the year with a perfect record, it's going to be tough because the last game of the year they have to go to Louisiana Tech, but their road schedule is, it's not too difficult. They have to come to UNT, which is I believe it's going to be a tough game. UNT loves playing at home. Mm-hmm. It's going to be tough, and then they have to go to Louisiana Tech. The only other tough game they have after that, or within that, is FIU. I could see UTSA making a run and looking good late in the year.
What's a better win, at UNT or at Baylor this year? Maybe at UNT?
Waco doesn't feel the way it has in the past few years.
Definitely.
At UNT. All right. So, is this a conference this year? Do you think UNT could win Conference USA perhaps this year?
Yes. You have the best offense. This is an offensive conference. You have a defense that's going to get better. I think they can definitely win the conference this year.
Yes, I saw him as a dark horse candidate, and so I definitely, if the right dominoes fall into effect, we knock off UTSA, we can definitely win Conference USA.
If UNT can win their division, they'll win the conference. That's purely what it comes down to. Because we have UTSA, and that's what it comes down to. They have a favorable schedule this year, getting UTSA at home. To me, if they can win that game, the conference will be wide open.
We've all been drinking that new Denton water together.
Absolutely.
And it's delicious.
It is incredible.
Now, how great would that be? So, Conference USA championship game, best record host. How great would that be if North Texas somehow got to host Conference USA championship game at Apogee Stadium? That would be something to see right there.
Not good for my December 5th plans that I have made already.
Well, I think there wouldn't be any more articles about fans not showing up to the games. I think Apogee would probably have one of the biggest crowds that we've ever seen for a football game if that happened.
Yeah, if we're already talking about the brilliance of Coach Luttrell's recruiting at this point, imagine if we host a game. If we host the championship game with what Coach Luttrell, the way he can inspire prospects already, look out the rest of Conference USA. We could be controlling this thing for the next 3 years.
So look out for North Texas apparently in Conference USA, maybe perhaps hosting the championship game. Who knows? Still a long ways to go, a lot of games to be played. But coming up here on the other side of the break, our reporters got to sit down with Jeffrey Wilson and talk to him about his career that he's had at the University of North Texas. So stick around on Mean Green Game Day.
I'll never forget the day our landlord called and said, read your lease. No pets allowed. My owner tells him my dog ate the lease, but that didn't work. And now I'm stuck in a shelter. But this pit bull is ready for a new crib. I'm loving, loyal, and play well with others. So don't be intimidated by all my muscles, because the biggest one I have is my heart. That's right, I said it.
Listen, I realize that I'm not perfect, but it all really started to change because you judge me for having a problem. No one is going to know that I need help. I need help. I know that no one is going to judge me for having a problem. I realize that I'm not perfect, but it all really started to change because you listen.
Patriotism. It inspires passionate debate, and it's worn like a badge of honor with good reason, because it means love and devotion for one's country. But what really makes up this country of ours? It's the people. To love America is to love all Americans. This year, patriotism shouldn't just be about pride of country. It should be about love. Love beyond age, sexuality, disability, race, religion, and other labels. Because love has no labels.
It's a short ride from your neighborhood to your naturehood. To find a neighborhood park or green space near you, visit discovertheforest.org.
To Mean Green Game Day is a couple of our Game Day reporters got to sit down with Jeffrey Wilson earlier this week and talk about the remarkable career he's had in North Texas and how it all started.
Do you plan to do something outside of football, or do you want to continue to do something in this field? I mean, wherever he takes me, that's where I go.
Jeffrey Wilson Jr., the senior star running back at the University of North Texas, might not know where he is heading, but he knows where he came from. Starting at a young age, football was his calling.
I was very young. I mean, I was 5 years old. I started off in full pads, and I was able to do that because actually my dad was a coach.
A coach he looks up to, the person he says is his greatest influence, biggest supporter, and whose steps he wants to follow in.
Hands down, to be my dad. You know, back home, I would always hear a lot of people in the community, a lot of people I knew, a lot of family members say that my dad was a very good football player. You know, some even say he was similar to Eric Dickerson. That was kind of a nickname he had growing up playing football back in high school. They called him ED.
Just like his dad, Jeffrey also became a great football player by having 5,078 career yards and 64 rushing touchdowns in his career at Eckhart High School. However, that success turned into struggle during his freshman year at UNT.
I would say playing his freshman year, it opened my eyes to a lot of things, you know, because obviously, as you can see, I wasn't ready yet, you know what I mean, obviously, but it just let me know that, you know what I mean, it let me know I had a lot of work to do. It gave me a reality check, and that's why I'm kind of glad I played my first year, because it let me know right off back, hey, this is a different ball game. You gotta step your game up and you gotta go to another level. This is not just something where you can come out and just rely on your skills. You have to actually put the work in and the time in, and it's a lot more than just working out. You know, it was the film side of it. Like, it was all those things that I had to stop, and that helped me realize, okay, I gotta lock down on this before I could even be the player that I want to be on the field.
That realization helped shape Jeff into the player he wanted to become.
Now that I'm a student of the game, I can read defenses, I can read techniques, I can look at guys and see what they like to do on film, I can see what they don't like to do. I can see the weak side of a defense, the strong side of a defense. So with all that coming into play and me learning all these new things, you know, it kind of slowed the game down for me. And then having coaches that can apply their knowledge into me and help my game and help me go to another level, you know, was another boost. So having the coaches aspect of it, that giving me the knowledge that they have, and then having the film side of it, you know, it kind of shaped me to the player I am now.
After a 936-yard 2016 season, Wilson made a huge decision. He would hang up the number 26 jersey for the last time and step onto the field in 2017 as number 3.
Even my coach, you know, he kind of helped refresh it, you know what I mean? Just like he said, the man above, he always works in threes, you know what I mean? And he likes to do things in threes. And so like knowing that and always being a Christian growing up in my life, you know, I feel like I seen a number available, you know, I could have picked from a lot of different numbers, but when I seen 3, I think it was kind of ironic, you know what I mean? And like I felt like it was me.
And as Jeff continues his final season in a UNT jersey, he won't just be remembered for his yards and touchdowns, but also his heart and will to win.
Somebody that cherished the moment, somebody that loved the game, you know, somebody that was fun to be around, somebody that always loved to keep the energy up, you know what I mean? And you know, that's why I always try to keep a smile on my face, even when I'm down, you know, even when I have problems and I can't show it, you know, I still want the players to know that I'm here for them, and that the drive I got and the passion I got for the game is something that I want to touch everybody on the team.
I'm now joined at the desk by the 2 reporters who got to sit down with Jeffrey Wilson, Garen and Sanji, and you getting to sit down with the star running back of the North Texas Mean Green. What were your initial thoughts when he first came in? You got to first talk to him.
You know, this being my first semester at UNT, this is the first time I've ever met a star running back of any kind of thing. And honestly, you know, going into it, I know a lot of people always say that football players, you know, can be a little or act a certain way. But when he came in, he was just like, he was a normal person. It was just so awesome to meet someone. He's very humble. You know, I know he gets a lot of attention being one of the best running backs in the nation, and it was just amazing to talk to him and just see how he is in real life.
And Kennedy did bring it up a little bit earlier, just statistically, one of the top running backs in the nation, and even in Conference USA. It's just incredible the kind of numbers he's already put up this season.
Yeah, he's 11th in the nation. He has 63 carries for 518 yards. 6 touchdowns. He's also leading, he's in the top 10 in the country for touchdowns, and he's 8th with six TDs, and he's also 6th in yards per carry with 8.22 yards. So he's a very impressive, obviously very humble, and I mean, You talked a little bit with him. I mean, kind of like how is he on the team?
You know, he is such a leader on that team. I know we asked him how was it his freshman year, and you know he said it was really new to him. Obviously, in the video, he said he wasn't ready. You know, it was just such a transfer from high school, and he got mentorship from Bird and Reggie, and now he's a mentor to Nick Smith, who's probably going to take over for him when hopefully when he retires and goes on to maybe something better. And you know he's been a mentor to all the wide receivers and all the other teammates as well. So it's so interesting to see him basically grow up. Even though he is an adult, it's good to see him grow up and, you know, become a more mature person.
And I know talked about this just a little bit in the video. You got to ask him, you know, what he thinks his future is, maybe football-wise. But what did he talk to you about? Maybe if football isn't going to work out, what does he have planned?
You know, I've met a lot of guys that love football, but I've never seen somebody with that much passion. You know, just right from the get-go, I know he said that wherever life takes me, but it looked like his heart is set in stone. Like ever since he was born, his calling was football. I feel like he really wants to be a part of football. He really wants to do stuff with kids. He wants to teach kids how to find that passion that he has, and he just wants to make life better for everybody else.
Yeah, so it was a great look into the life of Jeffrey Wilson, the star running back for North Texas. Coming up on the other side of the break, we'll preview the UNT versus Southern Miss matchup in Mississippi just moments away, so don't go anywhere here on Mean Green Game Day.
How's your hair? Is it pretty?
Daddy.
It's pretty.
Maybe honestly,
Here we go. We're going to go out there in the rain. You're going to get wet. All right, here we go. Go, bro. Okay, quick. Oh, yeah. Yes. So much fun. Mwah. We're getting so wet.
Every year, 40% of all food in the U.S. never gets eaten.
40%. That's almost half the food we produce.
Food waste is a serious problem. It impacts all of us.
And it's expensive. Your family is throwing $1,500 a year in the trash.
We're working hard to put food waste on the chopping block.
And you can do the same at home.
Learn how to cook it, store it, and share it.
Just don't waste it.
Go to savethefood.com.
Okay, so what would you bring to my company?
What do you need?
I need problem-solving skills.
I got through high school without a car, a phone, or a computer.
No college degree, though.
Not yet, but life's taught me a lot, and I'm ready for more.
Well, you're not the typical kind of candidate that I hire. But you are exactly what I'm looking for.
Your company could be missing out on the candidates it needs most. Learn how to find a great pool of untapped talent at gradsoflife.org.
Just moments away from kickoff as North Texas looks to start off 2-0 in Conference USA play, taking on the Southern Miss Golden Eagles. Now we're going to go a little bit into a deeper breakdown between these two teams. Southern Miss does have the series lead overall. They are 6-5 against North Texas. Last year, North Texas did win in Denton 29-23. So let's just go ahead and jump right in. Southern Miss 2-1 so far this season. This is their first Conference USA game. What have you seen so far from the Golden Eagles?
Before I tell you what I've seen from them, I've got my fun fact. This one's going to stump you guys.
All right.
Southern Miss has a player who has an NFL award named after him. Who's that player?
I don't know. I give up.
Sure.
I had no clue.
It's Ray Guy, the Guy Award for Best Punter.
Never heard of it.
It's not named after him. It's named after the Hall of Famer.
Ray Guy.
Never would.
Oh.
All right,
Hey, come on.
We will
Great
look
job.
All right, moving on.
We'll
moving
look it
on,
up
moving
later.
on.
We'll look it up later. But
They're
again,
scouting
diving back
report.
into the
All right.
Southern Miss team,
Well,
current Southern Miss team.
They've got a good running game. Ito Smith's a great running back. He struggled in the first two games, but he came out last week. He had a huge rushing game. They outgained ULM 534 to 330, and it was 219 on the ground for Smith. Finally got going. But it's a team, Southern Miss. When you think of Southern Miss, I still think of Nick Mullins from a couple of years ago and the passing attack. They don't really have that. And for North Texas, that's a good thing because The run defense has been your strong suit this year. You've gotten burned. I don't think you're going to get burned in this game if you're North Texas offensively. So I think it's a good matchup for us defensively.
The key for me for North Texas to win this game is staying on the field. North Texas is one of the conference leaders in time of possession. You said it earlier, they had 28 first downs last week against UAB. This Southern Miss teams are only converting 15% of their third downs against Southern Miss. So the key is to stay on the field, not to have those 3-and-out drives where your defense has to stay on the field and end up getting fatigued, end up getting tired, and giving up big plays against Southern Miss. If this offense can stay on the field and control the time possession, UNT has a great shot to win this game.
I agree with you, but I'm going to put an asterisk on the time of possession. I think it's a big fact, but you quoted one of the stats. I pulled that, the 28 first downs. The fact that UNT was able to have great offensive possession, they were able to hold the ball for 31 minutes. However, UAB only had 16 first downs, and yet they also held the ball for 28 minutes. There was a 3-minute separation between the time of possession of that game. That, to me,
3-point difference, too.
No, not the time. The point is, as well as UNC's offense had last game, the defense was what kept UAB in this game. And it was all came down to that second half. When you're only giving up 16 first downs, and yet you stay on the field for 3 minutes less than your offense, who is going lights out, and you have Mason Fine and Jeffrey Wilson just doing what they do and just being incredible, and yet you can still not get off the field, it's a little bit disconcerting for me. I'd love to see UNT win this game. Have them as a dark horse in the conference. It's going to be tough.
And talking about Mason Fine and Jeffrey Wilson, how about this young wide receivers core? They've shown some talent these past few games. How do you think they'll match up not only today, but really throughout the rest of the season in conference play?
And it's maybe what's making Mason Fine so statistically amazing this year. Having receivers, last year that was such a problem for this team. It was no playmakers at receivers, and this is an offense where you're not going to go deep as much. You're going to kind of do screens and dump offs, especially with this O-line. You don't have time to go deep. And so just to have athletes there, Jalen Guyton's been great. He already has 4 touchdowns. Just having the athletic receivers, I think it's making all the difference for Fine this year. Fine's still stepping up and making those throws, but knowing that you have somebody to make that throw too, it's huge for this offense.
And somebody else I'm going to throw out there is Turner Smiley. And so last year, Turner Smiley was one of the only guys, I think he was the only receiver returning that had more than 8 receptions on the year. And so having those two guys, you talked about Jalen Guyton, we talked about him earlier, Turner Smiley, he's got 2 guys that he can kind of rely on in the red zone to get him on, third and long. When you can't run the ball, you have to throw it. And so I think those 2 receivers need to come up big this game for us to win it.
I think we all know what we expect from Mason Fine and Jeffrey Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to be incredible. They're going to have a good game. Jeffrey Wilson's going to have another 100-plus yard game. I see Mason Fine having another, at least 2 touchdowns, 250 yards passing. What it comes down to for me on the offensive end, it's going to come down to players like Guyton on the outside. When you look at Jalen Guyton, what he does well is he just overpowers his matchup with athleticism. He has the stature and the weight to throw around to be able to beat anyone that's guarding him. However, the one thing that I think he needs to improve on moving forward in this season, he needs to improve on his technique. Right now, he's kind of just resting on the fact that he is just more God-given talent than anyone that they put on him. What I want to see from him is he needs to have a little bit crisper routes. He needs to be quicker off the line. He needs to have a little bit more of a move coming off. I understand that he is having a great season thus far. I still want to see some improvement coming out of him.
And now talk about improvement. If you're North Texas going into today's game, what's your biggest point of emphasis to try and secure this victory?
Third downs. That's what it's been all year. Going back to Southern Miss, we didn't convert third downs. It is third downs here. Southern Miss is number 2 right now in third down defense. You have got to convert third downs. Keep your defense off the field. Keep them rested. You were talking about earlier, time of possession, all that, whether it matters or not. Keep your offense on the field. Keep them off. Football is a simple sport, guys. We overcomplicate it all the time. It is about converting third downs, not having penalties. You're going on the road. You know you have the man of the game in Trevor Moore, who could maybe kick another game winner. Not today, but
no, not today.
It's all about third downs for this team. Defensively, it's about third downs. Third downs, I will say it 30 times in this segment. It is about third downs for North Texas.
It's about time of possession. So yes, third downs does factor into that. But you have to, all of your stars mostly are on the offensive side of the ball. You have a stud and a running back, and you have 2 formidable receivers outside for your quarterback to find weapons to. You cannot keep getting off the field in third, 3-and-out situations. You can't keep doing that and expect a chance to win. Also, you don't need to have a lot of penalties. Last week, we only had 4 penalties, which was really good for us in the win against UAB. You don't need to have a lot of penalties, unnecessary plays that bring your team back some yards or take away from your team for us to win.
It's going to come down to the defensive line. It's going to come down to defensive line. If they can get pressure on the Southern Miss offense, make the quarterback a little bit skittish in the pocket, force him to the outside, that's where he's going to make his errors. He's throwing less than 50%, or he's right at 50% completion for the season. If they can put pressure on the quarterback, get him outside the pocket, we're going to see the secondary hopefully step up and, maybe do a little bit more than a pillow out there.
Yeah, and so we're just moments away from first kick. Now, it's everyone's favorite segment coming up. We'll have predictions from some of the big games tonight and also the game between North Texas and Southern Miss, so don't go anywhere here on NTTV.
Here's your check. Oh, you got it. Since I got rid of my car, I really enjoy walking.
Okay. God, no.
Getting pulled over for buzz driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates.
Oh, you're home early. You live with your mom?
That'll set your game back a few years. Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving.
I understand. I know it's not your typical resume.
Okay, well.
But candidate. But I've been working double shifts just to pay for books. I've been raising my 2 little brothers. I'm determined, driven, motivated. Isn't that what you're looking for?
Look beyond the resume and discover new ways to develop great talent at gradsoflife.org.
Okay, so we drowned the fire, stirred it, drowned it again, and now just feel if it's cold.
Yeah.
Cool.
Smokey just gave me a bear hug.
I know. I already posted it.
I rescued Toast from a shelter in 2011. I love Toast because she's a lazy diva. Toast does whatever she wants, obviously. She's sleeping right now. She's an epic snuggler. She's so comforting. She's so loving. Toast makes me laugh. When I walked into the shelter, I knew right then that she was special.
And welcome back into Mean Green Game Day. We're just moments away from first kick. North Texas, Southern Miss. That'll be live on Conference USA TV. But now it's time for everyone's favorite segment. It's the predictions segment, and let's just dive right into it so we have plenty of time. First game that we're gonna talk about: Middle Tennessee at Florida Atlantic. I have Middle Tennessee. Who do you guys have?
Well, the best part about this game is they're giving away Lane Kiffin cutouts of him holding a Coca-Cola. Everyone's a winner who goes to this game. I thought about flying down there. Middle Tennessee's talented. They have Stockstill. They have great receivers. Middle Tennessee's a better football team. Kiffin hasn't quite figured it out. The deal with the Devil's not working out so far for Florida Atlantic. I think Middle Tennessee wins this game. They're better offensively, better coaches, and they're not Lane Kiffin. But the real winner of this game is the Lane Kiffin cutout.
I'm a Lane Kiffin guy, but I'm actually going to go with Middle Tennessee. I said on the first road show that I thought Brent Stockstill was the best quarterback in the conference. I think he'll show that. Also, Lane Kiffin, like you said, hasn't really got the program running all the way, just trying to make it like the Last Chance U documentary and get all those guys. And DeAndre Johnson is out, for the year with the blood clots in his arm or whatever. And so now they have to lean on their backup quarterback. So I just see Middle Tennessee taking this game.
I'm going to agree. Middle Tennessee to me is the more rounded team going into this matchup. Brent Stockstill is going to be able to show that he is, in fact, the second best quarterback in the conference.
Oh, wow.
Mason Fine's number 1. He's Mason number 1. But Brent Stockstill is still an incredible talent. And going into FAU, I understand that they've got a lot of press going forward, but to me it's a little bit unwarranted. Just because you got a big-name coach doesn't mean your program's going to step it up in the first year. And I think Middle Tennessee is going to be able to get a handy win.
Now from Conference USA going into the Big 12, Oklahoma State at Texas Tech. Texas Tech, a pretty impressive victory last week against Houston. Oklahoma State trying to bounce back that loss last week against TCU. I have Oklahoma State rebounding rather nicely.
And it's crazy checking that box score. Texas Tech actually played defense in a game for once. The worst thing for Texas Tech, though, was Oklahoma State losing last week. Oklahoma State, if they roll in undefeated, they're not already practicing harder because of the loss. You're not already thinking about everything you did wrong last week. Then I think maybe Tech pulls off the upset there. But having Oklahoma State lose last week, I think Oklahoma State comes in tonight. They'll be focused. Mason Rudolph will have a big game. Tortillas will be all over the field, but I think Oklahoma State wins 10 points.
I think Oklahoma State wins as well. I think they just have the better all-around team. Like you said, it was a surprise last week to us that Texas Tech actually played some defense. So I don't think that it happens 2 weeks in a row, especially against this Oklahoma State offense rebounding after a loss to TCU. I think Mason Rudolph continues to show why he's one of the top quarterbacks in college football, and I think he's going to put on a display today.
I think the only reason Texas Tech may have a shot is because last year, the returning players from last year will have had the practice of going against Patrick Mahomes every week. Because basically Mason Rudolph is a better version of Patrick Mahomes. He is bigger, he is stronger, and I have never seen anyone with that quick a release to have the cannon that he does. Well, let's all just soak it in for a minute. Right now, the over-under is sitting at 84.5 points.
Wow.
This is not going to be a defensive stand. The defense is not going to be able to do anything from Texas Tech, and granted, neither will Oklahoma State. Honestly, the team that wins this game will more likely have a shot of winning with more than 50 points than the chance of the loser having, less than 30 points. The thing that we're looking forward to this game is just the fact that it's just going to be fun to watch.
Yeah. Like you said, 84? What
84 and a half. 84 and a half.
Get ready for a 5-hour football game.
That's going to be a lot of fun to watch. And now going to the SEC, have South Carolina visiting Texas A&M in College Station. Now Texas A&M, the first couple of weeks, didn't look too strong. They've rebounded rather nicely. They have a pretty good record. I have them beating South Carolina.
Well, you have Will Muschamp going back to A&M, where he's had some success in the past. I think A&M wins, though. They had played well against Arkansas last week, got a nice overtime win. I mean, I think Kevin Sumlin's going to be fine there once he settles down. I think they're getting the quarterback. Kellen Mond is getting a little more experience going. I think A&M gets a nice win, a comfortable win for the Aggies tonight.
Get off my notes, Josh.
No.
I'm rolling with A&M. They're playing at Texas A&M, and so I think, that Arkansas game last week was really pivotal for them. I was on, I said that whoever lost that game, their coach might have been fired. And so, like you said, the freshman quarterback, he's starting to play better. I think as the games go by, Kevin Sumlin will trust him a lot more. You saw some times where he kind of, especially last week against Arkansas, kind of didn't want to elected to just kick the field goal when they still had time to try and score instead of just going into overtime is what he did. And so I'm rolling with Texas A&M. I think they're the better team, and I think they'll beat South Carolina today.
I'm not 100% sold that A&M is the better team. However, going into Kyle Field, there are not many harder places to win than when you have the 12th man behind the A&M team. It doesn't matter unless you get to the end of the season when A&M has their national championship hopes up, and then they get crushed by Alabama, lose to Auburn, and then at the end of the season, fans just kind of stop showing up. But in the first half of the season, Kyle Field is one of the toughest places you can play. I understand that Austin is also tough, and being a Texas kid, you're not going to agree with me at all.
A&M's lost like 8 games the past 2 years at Kyle Field. Past 3 years.
A&M's going to win, and I'm also going to base it purely for the fact that South Carolina doesn't really have a running game. In 4 games, they have 400 yards rushing. That's just not going to do it in the SEC.
Man, I think we're all copying sort of off each other's notes. I think we've all agreed on everything so far.
Sir.
Next one, big game tonight, Clemson at Virginia Tech, a good ACC matchup. I have the defending champs taking this one in Virginia Tech.
Who do you have?
I have.
Clemson. I got Clemson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All Clemson? All Clemson? Okay.
Coolest atmosphere in college football with the Enter Sandman jumping around. That's what I listen to when I go running to get me hyped.
Wow.
So it's going to be an awesome
You
atmosphere.
only run for one song?
Only one song, I stop. That's it.
He doesn't sweat either.
He doesn't sweat either.
It's about a 5-minute song, right?
It's a good jog. This game, I think Virginia Tech's winning at halftime. Then I think we see what Kelly Bryant's made of. Dabo Swinney right now, just everything he has going for Clemson is amazing what he's done there. Who would have thought Clemson would have become a college football powerhouse? I mean, they're here to stay. They win on the D-line. They win on the O-line. In the trenches is where this game is won. A lot of energy early from Virginia Tech, but Clemson, they somehow always win these games close. I think Clemson goes on the road. Nice, close win.
Definitely. I thought this Clemson team was kind of like just a Deshaun Watson storyline. And after he left, they lost Deshaun Watson, Mike Williams, Wayne Gallman. They lost a lot of weapons on that offensive side of the ball, and they've done nothing but show that they are still formidable and still the team to beat in the ACC. And how about that defense? That defense is amazing this year. They're flying to the ball. They're making plays, and the defense has really been crisp.
Wow. I like that. I like that.
That's a good word.
See, they are looking at my notes. Okay, I'm going to go
it's
with
tough for you being at the end of the desk, too, because they've already said everything.
It's kind of tough. I'm going to go with the brilliance of Dabo Swinney in this one. The fact of last year, everyone talked about it. It was the Deshaun Watson show. They were beating everyone by scoring 40 points in a game. This year, it's completely turned around. Their defense is averaging giving up just a little bit over 9 points a game. They're third in total defense, and they're third in scoring defense. You will not find a better front four on a college football team than this team. I have said it every week that I have been on, in other shows and this one. In that, just the 4 starting defensive linemen, all 4 of them, by the time they get done graduating, there will not be a single one drafted lower than the 3rd round.
I think the Roll Tide will have something to say about that. That's just me.
He got Alabama in the show.
Yeah,
there we go.
Every show.
Somehow we got it in, right?
Always.
And now going into the game that we're all wondering about, North Texas at Southern Miss. North Texas looking for their first road win of the season, looking to start off in Conference USA play 2-0. I have North Texas winning. I think they learned a lot from last week's second half kind of fiasco, and I think they got a lot better over the week, and I think they'll get a solid win to start off 2-0.
I think tonight is where we see this North Texas secondary. They talked a whole lot of mess before the season. They were asked, are you guys the best secondary in Conference USA? Of course we are. You haven't been so far. You've been one of the worst. But I think tonight the guys step up. I think 2 pick sixes. Well, get this on camera.
Okay.
2 pick sixes to the house. North Texas is going to win with their defense. They're going to win with their offense. This is a 16-point win for the Mean Green, 39-23. Book it.
39
take it to Vegas.
to 23.
I'm not going to put up a score and make a prediction because I'm usually wrong about these things. But I'm going to roll with UNT as well. A lot of times on this show, I go against UNT, and I get a lot of flack for it, being that I go to the school. But this time, I actually can see UNT pulling off this win, starting off 2-0 in the conference, and just making everybody feel better about New Denton and the water that we're drinking.
Okay. I understand that y'all are not going to like me after this one. However, let me finish. I am doing this for the good of the program. If all of us pick UNT to win, something's going to happen, and it's not going to be good. So I'm going to go, just for the sake of New Denton, I'm going to say Southern Miss is going to win, only for the fact, it can't be as stacked in UNT's favor as we want it to be. And so I'm going to say Southern Miss just to make it look a little bit better.
All right, so Jackson right there being maybe perhaps a voice of reason. Who knows, going against all of us. So we picked the same. We agreed on almost everything except for that last one. First kick coming right up here on Conference USA TV. Thank you for tuning in. For Jackson Dunovit, Kennedy Miller, and for Josh Conrad, I'm Nick Laupius. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next time on Mean Green Game Day.